Hello, everyone. This is Scott Procter alongside Morris and Lucas Semb. We're back with another episode of BVM Sports Chalk Talk as we take a look back at Week 10 of the NFL season. We start out west for what was probably the matchup of the weekend as the Arizona Cardinals beat the Buffalo Bills on a last-second Hail Mary from Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins. We'll start with Matt. What did you see out west in the desert?
Yeah, Scott, that was just a fun game to watch. I mean, these are two teams with young quarterbacks, very impressive offenses and some defenses that can really, create turnovers and, help their offenses out. And you just saw it go down to the wire. And with two teams that are looking to improve on what they did last year, the Bills making it to the playoffs but losing to Deshaun Watson, and obviously the Cardinals trying to make it to the playoffs this year. You love what you see out of both of them. Josh Allen and that offense with all the weapons they have. Cole Beasley played amazing. Stephon Diggs came up big at the end. You watch them just march down and get that score, and you think the game's over. But it just shows you how good Arizona is this year and how impressive that offense is with Christian Kirk and obviously DeAndre Hopkins as the star wide receiver. They've got a good run game. Kyler Murray is showing that he's going to be in the talks for MVP and the best player in the NFL for a while now. And, they just outdueled the Bills by one better play. And it was a Hail Murray, as they're calling it. And, after this game, obviously now the race in the AFC East gets a little closer with Dolphins catching up. But, the real question now is, are the Cardinals in the driver's seat in the NFC West with the Seattle Seahawks just, diving down? And I think moving into the last stretch of this whole NFL season, I think the Bills will still end up winning their division, and I think the Cardinals will beat both the Rams and the Seahawks to take the NFC West and be one of the higher seeds going into the playoffs. So I'm really excited about both teams. What do you guys think? Do you see the Bills and the Cardinals taking over their divisions heading into the last couple weeks of the regular season?
Well, I really like the Cardinals. I was high on them going into the season. I'm not too fond of the idea of Buffalo winning their division as soon as this year, simply for the fact I really want to start that, my mentions on Twitter were flooded last week with photos and gifs of Josh Allen after I rightfully declared Tua Tagovailoa the best quarterback in the AFC East. And Josh Allen had the perfect opportunity on Sunday to go into the same exact building and play the same exact team that Tua did just a week prior, but he was less efficient and his team lost. Now, the touchdown that Josh Allen threw to Stephon Diggs there at the end of the game that put Buffalo up ahead moments before that miraculous Hail Mary was a special play. But at the end of the day on Sunday, Kyler Murray was the best quarterback on the field. He was 4 for 4, 75 yards, and obviously the touchdown on that final drive, following a 17-0 run in the third quarter to really put Arizona, back in control of that game. I really like what I've seen from both of these teams. Kyler Murray is just in a different category of quarterback, when we're talking about Josh Allen and others. But this win by Arizona on Sunday sets up a showdown on Thursday against Seattle. That will, play a big role in how the NFC West shakes out, and I'm excited for that. What do you see out there, Lucas?
I'm definitely on the same page as you. I think that the Cardinals are going to be taking their division. I think all those teams, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, are going to be as good as their quarterback is. With Goff, I'm just not sold on the Rams. As many pieces as they have, he's too inconsistent. He misses a lot of throws. He's not as elusive as you would maybe see Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray be, getting out of the pocket and creating and getting downfield with their legs. And then you see what the Seahawks turned into when Russell Wilson's not producing. And it's just, he's been terrible in their last 3 or 4 games. And I mean, we'll get to that, but Kyler Murray just doesn't make mistakes. He's very accurate. And when something breaks down, he's able to make something out of nothing. So I do see the Cardinals taking theirs. The Bills, I'm not really on that yet. I agree. It's going to come down to week 17, I think, with the Bills and the Dolphins. Yeah. It's going to be a huge matchup. I think both teams offensively are similar with a lot of weapons. I really like the Dolphins with, Gesicki and Devontae Parker and Jakeem Grant, and they just Tua, like you said. I know you like Tua, but I think their defense is going to propel them above the Bills. I don't really like the Bills' defense. They took a step back this year. They're in a lot of high-scoring games, and their offense is good enough that they're able to, kind of take over.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but if you look at the Dolphins, they have 2 tough games against the Raiders and the Chiefs. And you look at the Bills, their toughest game finishing the season besides the Dolphins is the Steelers. So going in, it's going to be interesting to see what the records look like overall, and I think that'll play an effect. Cardinals are going to, I think, win this NFC West, especially after the poor showing that Seattle had against the Rams this last week. And I know, Scott, you were going to be talking about that
Absolutely.
in your game of the week.
Absolutely. We'll stay in the NFC West for a divisional matchup that also took place on Sunday, where the LA Rams took down the Seattle Seahawks 23-16. And, I just have to say, the first thing that comes to mind, when looking at this matchup and looking back on it is, Russell Wilson gets a lot of credit, when Seattle plays well, and, rightfully so. But, we also have to look at him, when Seattle has now lost 3 or 4 games, and, he's a big reason why. Seahawks are 6-0 when Russell Wilson has 1 turnover or less. You do the math. On Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks actually come up with a turnover on defense of their own, set Russell Wilson up with their own, with a short field. He escapes the pocket like he often does, gets to his right, has a ton of room out in front of him, and forces the ball, crosses his body to the left side of the field, according to the end zone, and it's picked off. This is 10 turnovers now for him in his last 4 weeks, and we have to look at him, especially when you're playing a defense like the Rams that has playmakers like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, who can hold DK Metcalf to just 2 catches and 28 yards. You have to take care of the ball. This Seattle Seahawks defense is not absolved by any means. They're on track to give the most passing yards in NFL history, and that trend has to go the opposite way if they want to be taken seriously as Super Bowl contenders, because Russell Wilson will clean up the mistakes, but they have to show improvement on the other side of the ball. What'd you take from that matchup there?
Right, I think when you're going against the Rams defense, Jalen Ramsey is a clamp. All that mouth talking or all that talking that he does, he really, he does back it up. I mean, arguably Russell Wilson's top receiver was basically shut down the entire night. You could say Lockett's the best. I think it's DK.
I agree.
But when you have Aaron Donald forcing pressure on you, and then you're looking downfield and you see Ramsey, and I know it's just 2 guys, but it puts a lot of pressure on you to make a quick decision. I just feel like this week we were a little harsh on Russell Wilson. He was playing a tough defense, and like you said, he's going to clean it up and he's going to play at an MVP level again. What do you think, man?
Well, no doubt that Russell Wilson is still going to clean it up, but he's got 10 interceptions on the season. And, to your point, Scott, when he only turns it over once, they're 6-0. I can remember that first game against the Cardinals. It looked like they were going to run away with it, or there were moments where you thought that Seattle could take that kind of final step to really make it hard for the Cardinals to come back. And some turnovers from Wilson kept the team in the game, allowed them to go into overtime and then lose it in Arizona. So you look at what's going on with Seattle, and when you don't have the trust of your defense that they can just make a stop, period, you have to play basically perfect. And Wilson, for the most part, has, but as they continue to do that, you're going into a game against Arizona where the Cardinals aren't as good on defense as the Rams are. There's very few teams that are, but they've been able to get some turnovers. They were able to, affect Wilson the last time, and this is turning into kind of a must-win for the Seahawks. Not in the sense of I still think they can make a wild card spot, but just to get that confidence back, to get a little bit of that swagger back that they had, you need to go and win a home game against the Cardinals.
I want to hop over to the NFC North and talk a little bit about the Bears and the Vikings. Very sloppy Monday night football game, but I think it still showed us a lot about what both of these teams can be. Personally, I think that the Vikings are going to make a late push. They're 4-5 now. They're back in the NFC hunt for a wild card at least. And their next 2 games are against the Cowboys and the Lions. And you got to think with the way that they're playing right now, and they're even able to squeak out a win against the Bears with Dalvin Cook being shut down. So I think that they keep playing to this level, and Cook comes back and plays against lesser defenses as himself, they're going to make a push to get into the playoffs. And I think that the Bears might as well just start tanking. I don't think Foles isn't the answer. He doesn't, they put him in there to pass the ball, and he doesn't pass it enough, and he doesn't pass it well enough, where it's like, what's the point in keeping Trubisky on the sideline? I guess if you're paying Foles, you might as well play him. I don't know if that's what they're looking at, but I don't know. You tank and go for Justin Fields, Trey Lance, someone else. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't think either of these teams, have a much of a future as far as the 2020 NFL season goes. The Bears specifically are dead in the water in the NFC as far as I'm concerned. On a night where, you shut down arguably the league's best, running back, you hold the opposing team to 19 points, and you also score a special teams touchdown, and you still can't win that game. You're not worth this serious, conversation about, making a deep run in the playoffs or beyond. And, I think even more importantly than that, the Bears just don't have their quarterback of the future on the roster right now. They paid a bunch of money to Nick Foles. They took a shot on him, and, that just hasn't worked out well. They've tried other things. Bill Lazor called plays for the first time on Monday night, and this offense just does not have the punch. I like Allen Robinson. I like David Montgomery when he's healthy, and Darnell Mooney, younger guys, Anthony Miller, but it's just not enough. Offensively. And as far as the Vikings go, again, as far as a late push for maybe 7 or 8 wins. I don't see much more than that. I like Dalvin Cook a lot. Justin Jefferson is one of my favorite young players in the league, regardless of position. I like where he's headed. It's made the Stephon Diggs trade, virtually meaningless. But that's where I stand on those two teams. The NFC North is a one-team division led by the Green Bay Packers. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I got to agree with you as far as, the NFC North being a one-team division, simply because if you look at the NFC as a whole, you're thinking about where these other teams are going to come out of. I'm taking 2 teams from the NFC West before I'm taking the Vikings in a wild card spot, and then the NFC South, either New Orleans or Tampa Bay is going to win that division. And it looks right now like New Orleans is in the driver's seat because they swept the series. But with Breeze being out, now it's a little bit of a question mark. But overall, you got those teams and those divisions playing a lot better. I like what I've seen from the Vikings. Kudos to Mike Zimmer on getting that defense to clean up their act a little bit, come in and just shut down a bad Bears offense. But if you're the Chicago Bears, you're at home, your defense is playing amazing. They shut down the best player on the Vikings, and you still can't squeak out a win. This offense is terrible, and it's partially the offensive line, partially wide receivers dropping balls, partially Nick Foles not making good passes because they had chances to still win that game late. He overthrew Anthony Miller. They were off by that much. This is a championship-style defense that went in and did what you wanted to do, and you still can't get a win at home. So it's sad to see, but also promising for the Vikings because when you lost Dalvin Cook, you didn't fold. You were able to get Jefferson involved. Thielen had a great catch. So I like the Vikings in the future, but I don't see them as a wild card team this year. They just have too much to try and combat, and there's better teams in the NFC.
Yeah, and to that point about the Bears defense, I just feel really sorry for Eddie Jackson, the Akeem Hicks, the Roquan Smiths, and Akeem Hicks of
Khalil
that
Mack.
defense. Khalil Mack, of course. I think I just said Akeem Hicks' name twice, but this is like you said, man. This is a championship level defense that is just being wasted away on a team that really just doesn't have much going for it on the other side of the ball.
No, Ryan Pace should do the charitable thing, and the Bears should trade the entire defense to the Seattle Seahawks because they're in need. Just do the right thing. Be nice. Send them over. Give the defense the Super Bowl that they deserve. Because it is being squandered, and it's been squandered since Nagy came to Chicago.
Sure.
And to your point, I'm not going to let you get off without saying the Vikings aren't going to make it. They trade Yannick Ngakoue. They lose Danielle Hunter for the rest of the year. They lost Anthony Barr early on in the year.
Yep.
And they're looking terrible at 1-5, and then they rattle off 3 straight. And the energizer of that all was a win over the Packers, who you two say is, obviously, they are number one in the NFC North, but, you say it's a one-team division.
No,
I don't know.
So let me ask you this: when you say late push, do you think they make the playoffs as a wild card? Do you think they sneak
Right.
in?
No. Yes, I think they could grab a wild card spot and get in. And then when you get there, it's all fair game. Anything could happen. And I think they have enough weapons where if you're playing good football, and hopefully you are at the end of the year, you could make some noise.
No, I don't disagree with you on the Vikings being the second best team in the NFC North and them looking really good right now. They have the weapons outside that when you take away Dalvin Cook, you can go to. Kirk Cousins is playing better because honestly, they're just not having him throw as much. And the defense, Zimmer has really reinvigorated this defense to play well. My only point is, when you look at the NFC as a whole, I'm taking the Rams and either the Cardinals or the Seahawks, and then either Tampa Bay or New Orleans, because those are going to be the teams that might get the wild card. I'm taking them over the Vikings. That's my point.
It's going to take some good fortune because those teams are a little over 500 right now, and we're still a game. And the Vikings, are still a game under. So it's going to take some good fortune, like I said, but I think they could do it.
It's going to be interesting. It's exciting. This is the best part of the season because a lot of teams will crumble, or you'll see them step up. And you'll see a team get hot. Philly, when they got hot, they terrify you in the playoffs. So if the Vikings get hot and a few teams fall, who knows?
Who knows with Breeze out now? It's going to be a lot of pressure on Winston's shoulders.
Or Taysom Hill. You never know with New Orleans. They'll switch it up.
It's going to be interesting. Definitely going to be a lot of compelling football left to play. But that's going to wrap things up for us here from Scott Procter, Lucas Semb, Morris. Catch you next time on BVM Sports Chalk Talk.